So I'm Susan Bobholz. I'm Director of Product Marketing for Intel Omni-Path Architecture. So first I want to read the room. Who's heard of Intel Omni-Path Architecture? Sort of. It's our high performance fabric for HPC. So memorize this. Lawyers make me do it. So let's start with the little bit of the marketing slides, and I'll get into a little more details on what's new in our product right now. So first off, we had a really fantastic top 500. We set a record number of entries this time. We're up to 43. Every single time since we launched this product, we have had more and more and more entries in the top 500. Of the 6 top academic clusters, the 6 fastest academic clusters in the world are powered by OmniPath. And of course, we've increased our total flops since June. So we are deployed all over the place in all sorts of different usage models. What you have in the middle here, that's your traditional HPC. That's what we all know and love. That's what this show is usually all about. Of course, we've got the supercomputers, the big ones that are out there, the really big behemoths. We've got HPC cloud vendors. We then have traditional enterprise R&D centers and artificial intelligence. Now, I do want to warn you, these are just the vendors that let us use their logos. Especially when you get into enterprise R&D, they don't like to talk about their compute environment because they see that as a competitive advantage, so they won't let us talk about them. So lastly on this slide, we know we can't do this alone. We have a growing ecosystem called Intel Fabric Builders. Right now we've got over 90 members, and it's all of the different partners, including DDN, as you can see right down here, that work with us to enable you to deliver a really compelling top performance solution. So let's talk performance, because that's really in HPC the big thing everybody cares about. You care about application performance. So this is right now, we are looking at relative performance compared to EDR. And you see EDR is your red line. Everything is benchmarked against that. And then we have a whole slew of applications here that are running. And what you can see is overall, Intel OmniPath is about 4%, so that's about equivalent, is what I would put it. We've got a few that are a little less and some that are really much better. Do want to point out a few things here. This is all taken data, post-Spectre meltdown patches, so that's all included in all of this. We make a real effort to ensure that everything we do is showing both us and our competition in the best possible light. So for instance, Intel OmniPath runs best with Intel MPI. EDR usually runs best with OpenMPI. And so we try to show them in their best light through all of this. And quite frankly, if there's data we take that shows our competition, this is across the board at Intel. If we ever take data that shows our competition is just something way out of whack, we won't publish it. Because we don't feel that's the right thing to do. Another thing to keep in mind is this is only 16 nodes. One of the real beauties of OmniPath is how it scales. Your performance scales, it just gets better and better comparatively as you scale. So any questions on the performance? Okay, the other thing Intel always does, memorize this again, is we share the complete configuration information is how we got our data. Every little bit is here because we really believe that just throwing a number out there is not going to help you at all. You need to be able to verify it in your environment. You want to be able to duplicate what we've done. So we tell you everything you need to know to make that happen. Everything from the exact server configuration, the BIOS, the OS number, the kernel version, just everything. And here you see 2 pages of it that includes all the different configurations that are used in the different applications as well. So we always make, as I said, we make an effort to show everybody in their best possible light. If you ever look at our data and say, you know, something looks funky, let us know. We want to know that so we can improve the results and help you make better decisions. We also then have a cluster that if you ever are looking at OmniPath and you want to say, you know, I want to run my application, not one of the ones you've been running, but I've got an application I've written, we can give you access to our cluster remotely. It's called Diamond. And then you can run your application and then pull it off. So we'll never see it. It'll be a very secure environment, but you can prove it to yourself. at that point in time. So what are some of the new features that we've added to OmniPath recently? One big thing is you saw I have some cloud vendors coming in, HPC cloud vendors. Part of it is because of the capabilities we're adding here with vFabrics. You've heard of VLANs. vFabrics is the fabric equivalent of it. We had a capability with our previous versions of software where you could get about 32 concurrent vFabrics. The issue we always had is that the only way to really create or destroy was to take the whole fabric down and then bring it up again, start over. That's really clunky. Customers said, fix that, Intel, so we did. So what we have now is the ability to dynamically create and destroy secure virtual fabric environments. You can have up to 1,000 of them concurrently. This is really popular, of course, in the cloud, where they're always having to have dynamic, different tendencies, different users coming on, that kind of thing. But I've also seen it in like a traditional HPC environment where, let's say, the example I can give you is healthcare, where you need to have a very secure virtual environment for your patient records. I've seen them do that in this type of environment with dynamic virtual fabrics. So we do have more cloud enhancements coming in our next software release, which is coming at the end of the year. So since I'm in DDN's booth, I thought I'd talk about storage a little bit. So there's a whole bunch of ways you can connect to storage. Obviously, if you have a compute cluster that's OmniPath, the best way to get to do the connections is with new storage. DDN sells a whole bunch of new storage that has OmniPath connectivity. That's going to be the easiest way to connect it. It's going to give you the best performance. But we also do understand that a lot of times you've got existing storage that is maybe another connection technology that you don't want to replace at this point in time, or you want to share it with, let's say, an older InfiniBand cluster. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One way here is for Lustre, is you can basically have what we call a multi-home server that has both, let's say, OmniPath and the other connection technology in it, and then it just connects through both of them very seamlessly. That's not always possible. People don't want to open up an existing server and add a card in. So then for Lustre, there's something called an LNet router. Who's familiar with an LNet router? Yeah, a little bit. It's part of Lustre, and it allows you to basically connect from one topology to the next. And what you do there is, an example here is you have an OmniPath cluster, and you have some, basically they're just inexpensive little servers that run the LNet router software on it and then connect to your other network, and that way you can access the storage over here. That's quick and easy. It's very good performance. When you're looking at the other file systems, now at this point you're really looking at something more like an IP router over here. Very similar concept, something that does come with Linux that allows you to do that same connection back and forth. They are different routers because you have different file systems. So what is we've been doing to improve storage with OmniPath? We have, in our latest release of software, our software is called IFS, or Intel Fabric Software Suite. Not exactly a earth-shattering name, but that's what it's called. The 10.8, that came out earlier this year. We've really improved the verb's performance, and that allows you to do multi-core completion queue handling, as well as we've done a lot to separate out transmit and receive completion queues, and then really just tried to free up what's running on core 0 so it's not getting bogged down and being your bottleneck. We've done other things regarding to getting best performance and tuning with Jumbo NTUs. I do want to always ask you is that if you're using OmniPath, we publish a performance tuning guide. It's on Intel.com. You can find it easily. Always look for the latest, greatest one. We give you ideas on how to tune all aspects of your system. Everything from your BIOS to your storage, to your routers, to specific applications. We've got all of that there. Keep up with it. We try to share everything we've learned. A little bit about next generation products here. I just want to give you a little hint here. This is something that we just actually won a top 5 products or technologies to watch award. You see the HPC Wire Awards. We won that for our next generation product here. It's 200 gig. It's going to be 64 ports on the switch, which will be industry leading at 200 gig. We will have some enhanced features here. Our message rate is going to be probably some of the highest in the industry. We do see low latency, and the key is it stays low at scale. That means that the last thing you want is to have a fabric got acceptable latency, you add a little bit to it, and suddenly your latency just goes out the door. We stay low at scale. You can increase the fabric scale, and then improved quality of service. We'll give you more details about that in the future. It's completely interoperable and compatible with our current generation, so you can mix and match to your heart's desires, and it's coming next year. So, what are we doing better together? DDN was the first storage vendor to integrate OmniPath into their product line. Number one. They were a member of our Fabric Builders program. If you look at their portfolio of products, OmniPath is everywhere. Many end users have chosen DDN products using OmniPath. If you saw it at the last presentation, the O-Force PAX cluster, which is number one on the IO 500, is DDN storage using OmniPath. So with that, questions?